On this episode of 4K Skywatching, a UAP shoots down from space and then takes off. Keep your eyes on the red area. This is hard to see because I'm filming an area that's 10 to 12 miles away from the camera, so this is very distant. This object just caught my attention, and it's kind of bobbering around, and up in the top left, a plane is going to be flying into the scene, and I pan up to it, and then when I pan down, I find this thing shoots off at a high velocity. So it's going to just kind of sit there and meander. The plane just went by, and I tilt up for just a second, and then realize, okay, that's a plane incoming. Let's tilt down. And now this thing is booking. It's really getting out of here pretty quick. I've never seen a grocery bag do anything like this. Would you just look at that thing? And there's something behind it taking off at high velocity. I've never seen a balloon take off and ditch me, or a grocery bag. Now, here's a playback of the entire clip. This is when it's actually dropping down. So this is when I broke down the video, enhanced it, and tracked with it. So it's coming down, I guess, from space. And what I notice is these things do not come under 10,000 feet hardly at all. So it comes down, it probably hits that 10,000 foot threshold where it needs to stop, and then it banks over to the right. So they seem to fly out of control, but they are very much under control when it comes to their altitude. That they make sure that they don't drop down too low and be noticed, but they do ping pong around in the sky quite a bit. So this is an interesting capture, because I usually don't get these things coming down, because I'm usually recording, kind of like at a 75-degree angle. Here I'm recording at maybe a 20 to 30-degree angle, so I'm looking off in the distance. So this thing is simply too far away to register as a bird, bag, or just a 1-foot object. This thing has to be of some type of size to even show up and register on video this far away. So here this thing is darting off. Just look at the thing just speed up and book. That's just amazing. Wish I can get better resolution of that. Now, we're also going to go back and look at the last footage. This is the last footage I shot on May 15th. I did some tracing of the flight path. I also blew this thing up so we can take a look at it. At this point, this is the object in the beginning of the video, and you could see it tumbling clockwise. So this pretty much rules out that it was a bird, because you'd be able to see some flapping or something like that. Rules out it's a balloon, I think, too, because it's just the velocity of this thing is just flying too fast. And the same thing with the bag. It seems to be moving around from 0 to 0.5 Mach, 0.6 Mach, which is about 250 to 350 miles an hour. So this one is a very interesting video. Very hard to get these things in good resolution, just darting around everywhere. And this is also... that object's pretty bright. I really toned down the brightness and the darkness on this to get this. So I want to give everybody out there a tip. If you have a dome, a camera, and you're sky watching and you're looking up, the light of the general glare of the sun is going to make these things blend into the sky. And they're going to be really, really hard to see. So what I do is I take my camera settings, and you can do this with your TV or your camera. And I bring up the contrast from default settings up to about 75%. And then I lower the brightness between 12% and around 23%. And what that does is it muddies the image, but it makes these things stand out like a sore thumb in a way that... And I've also tested it where I flipped them back and you can't see them anymore. Like because they just blend right in. So here is a trace of the object's flight path from the video that was shot on May 15th, 2022. This is one where I just handled this thing like a boss. What you're seeing here is it's going to the right, and then it's going to loop down and fly back to the left. From looking at videos, check this out. This is what I think Ryan Graves, the pilot, was referring to as racetrack patterns that he would see on his F-18 radar that these things would look that up. And if you want to know what racetrack patterns are aviation-wise, which I didn't really know, I had to Google that. It looks like it's something that fixed-wing aircraft do to maintain a position, or another way to say, if you're traveling in one direction, you come in at say 7,000. If you go back the other direction, you lower maybe to 5,000 or 6,000, so you don't collide with anybody else. So that seems to be what this is doing, is it's patrolling a certain area. Who knows why, but this thing is up there, not a lot, but this is not the first time I filmed this type of object, and it's certainly not going to be the last. I do run into this guy every once in a while. This thing is extremely hard to track with, unless you have a tracking system like this, because it changes its direction about, if you look at about every 10 seconds to 30 seconds, somewhere in that range, it just goes in another direction for some reason. The earlier video too can also rule out that this was like a hobby drone or a quadcopter up there, because it was tumbling over itself. And drones don't tumble like that when they can't, they just drop. So this thing's going to go down and then do its another racetrack pattern where it does another curve over to the right again. And when you see that, now you can start realizing, oh, I'm seeing this pattern. Okay, I get it. It's going over to the right, and then it's going to do a loop and then come back over to the left. So that it does it twice in a row in the video. So this is it going in to do that again. And that would show, okay, you're not going to have birds doing racetrack patterns, right? And if this is let's just imagine for a minute this is being pushed around by high velocity winds. Winds are not going to do racetrack patterns either. You know, there's a pattern here, so there's more than this is just an object tumbling in the wind. You really have to know how to dissect some of these videos to get at the data in here. So I think another ray trace coming up on some of its flight paths. So look, it's doing almost the same like flight path it did when I first captured it. So that there rules out that this is just something being blown around in the wind, because it wouldn't be doing these racetrack patterns like that. So this is a follow-up to the other video. You can leave your comments what you think. If there's anything else that it might be. Here's where it does that reverse and stops on a dime and backs up. Check this out. This is there's the flight path of it. Boom, and it backs up and does that. That's just nuts. I'm looking forward to one day getting the P1000 on this thing, but it'll be hard because of just how erratic it flies. This thing is not going to sit still for too long and wait for you to zoom in on it. You got to be on the ball to get this thing on extreme resolution. Here's another trace of it, and now it's going to fly down and ditch me. So if you guys like this type of video, you know there's more coming. If you've seen any videos on my channel, I'm the guy who films these Tic Tacs on a semi-regular basis, sometimes weeks or months. So hit that like button, hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see everybody next time on 4K Skywatching. Thanks for watching.